I admire when people learn 3D without having a technical background, because they can go faster into what's important. They're modeling very dirty. They do like very like slapping geometry together and projecting things all the way. And I don't know, it's kind of envy when you can detach from what's supposed to be. And I can relate this in my painting as well. You know, it's easy to zoom in and to paint every detail, when it's hard for me to just zoom out and focus on the big aspects of things.
G'day and welcome to another episode of the Andrew Price Podcast, the podcast for serious artists. I am joined in this interview with Julien Gauthier, who is an art director at ILM. In this interview, we talk about how he transitioned from lighting TD, which is what he used to do at MPC, to the coveted role of art direction. We also talk about how he uses Blender's geometry nodes and uses it to save him hours of work, which is very cool. And we also talk at length about the topic of the day, which is AI. We talk about which jobs it might replace in the short term and what it might replace in the long term. And we also talk about how it will influence art direction and why we're on the cusp of a massive shift in both how entertainment is produced and consumed. Very interesting conversation here, so let's get into it. All right, Julien, I'll start with a question I like to ask a lot of people, which is, have you always been artistic?
And I think so. You know, I was always this kind of like artistic kid that you can find in a class that you kind of popular every time. Like people ask me, "Can you draw this Pokemon? Can you draw this thing and this animals?" And I don't know. Even though my parents were not really artistic, I kind of developed this interest. But yeah, I really like to draw and create. You know, like my favorite things to do was to draw maze. Actually, I like to draw little puzzle. You know, when you have to figure out the escape route of something.
No way! Really, that's unique. Where did that come from? You just into puzzles?
I don't know. It's more like I like complex stuff that I don't know that has a solution, but you know, like visually interesting. Even though nobody likes to solve my puzzles, I like to draw them. You know. Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
cool.
also I like everything mechanical, so I like to draw machines. And you know, even though that it cannot work, my grandfather was always like, "He's a genius. He made like a car that can work with water and this kind of thing." It's like, yeah. So I like to mix in art and technique actually, because of that. Like to, you know, draw robots and mechanical things.
Interesting. Okay. Great. And okay, so in school, you were the class doodler, but more proficient than the other kids. Did you know you wanted to get into film or art, or this was just a hobby at the time? Okay.
Just a hobby, yeah.
So when did you know?
I haven't heard about the work in movies for an artist before pretty late in my life. I always wanted to be like engineers and make robots. I actually studied how to, like in France, we have this kind of mechanical engineering kind of program in high school. So this is how I got me interested in mathematics and physics and electrics. But I'll get bored pretty quickly about the technical aspect of stuff. And this is something recurring in my life, you will see. But it's like, you know, I like the look of things more than how it works at the end. Right.
I think that is quite common for a lot of artists to get bored quickly. Like, I don't know. I just came from Italy, the Salon del Mobile, talking to people in furniture. It's a big furniture expo, and just sort of hearing. Like, he also talked to architects and things like that, and like the length of projects for like architects, it's just years, and it might even not get constructed at the end. Like just the idea of like working on something with like small tweaks to this, it's like,
yeah, just for one building.
Yeah, it would just destroy me. You know, I couldn't do it.
Yeah,
I would just like, I want to be done with that building in a day and then make the next thing, you know? I don't know. It seems quite common in a lot of artists. So sorry. So when did you, how did you get to where you are?
Well, my grandfather was living in a city that has a great school in France called ESMA, ESMA.
Okay.
And it's there's a big reputation in the world. So I forgot exactly how I discovered this school, but I figured out that mixing my love of movie and art together would be a good thing. So I tried this art. It's like a full CG school, 3D school, 3D animation school. You learn everything from the writing story to compositing, all the different steps in 3 years. So at the end, I got the chance to make my own short movie.
Wow.
But at that time, I never thought about doing concept art. It was just really pure programming, not programming, like 3D rendering and things like that.
Okay, yeah. So
and
ESMA, and it was a
ESMA,
course
yeah.
in 3D. That was the focus.
Yes.
Okay.
So 3D, but there's a bit of character design class and 2D animation class.
Okay.
Script writing and all the different aspects. And at the end of the day, at the end of the year, you do your own short movie. You decide this kind of specialization. Even though in my short movie, I did concept art, I did modeling, I did texturing, rigging, and rendering and compositing, because we are only 4 people to make a short movie. We have to be very versatile.
Yes, yes.
Then at the end, when I graduated, I got hired to work as a lighting TD in London at MPC.
Right. So that was your first job out of university?
Yes.
A lighting designer at MPC?
Yes.
Okay.
On the Guardian of the Galaxy. It was quite cool.
Oh, wow. That's cool. And how did you get that job?
Actually, my first interview after graduating was horrible. My English was too bad. I was so nervous. I guess the recruiter didn't really like me. But they were so desperate about recruiting people that at the end of the 1 month after, they say, "Oh, actually, we kind of need people." And my friends were already working there, so they kind of, "By the way, Julien is still available, And then,
okay. So initially they passed, and then they're like, "All right, come on."
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. But 1 year after that, I got contacted by Illumination in Paris to work on the.
Say again.
Illumination.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yes,
they make the Minions. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So do you know the Annecy Festival in France?
Yes, Annecy. Yep.
So I met them when I was a student, and then they still remember me after. So they contacted me and say, "Can you work on the movie?" Still a lighting TD.
Okay. How did you land in lighting? Was that something you had in your portfolio a lot?
Yeah, I think I was just interested in rendering, when the things gray become beautiful, when you put the texture and then the colors and everything, you can really set the mood. And I think that's why I also like concept art. It's more like I'm a visual guy for the color, the lighting and everything. And lighting TD was more the way to go. Even though I kind of started to regret pretty fast, because when you work on your own project, you do what you want. It's kind of always interesting. But when you work on a big movies, all the tasks are so divided into small stuff that you kind of become too much of a little gears in a big machine, and you end up doing maybe 10% of something interesting, and the rest is just technical solving or just editing the scenes and re-rendering stuff. So that's why as soon as I started working at MPC, I already knew that I'm not going to be there for long. I immediately went to the matte painting department because I was thinking, I kind of want to do just images. I don't care about, the whole process of making animation. Because in matte painting, they can just paint and use photos, and it's more straight to the art.
Yes. It's like concentrated creativity, right? The matte and concept art, it's very attractive for people who are sick of the technical, I think. Yeah. Exactly,
yes. Then I didn't know about concept art as well before starting, because for me it was more I went to 3D school, so I cannot do illustration. I had to go to illustration school to do that. So I knew how to draw and paint a little bit, but I really just realized that I could do it if I wanted. So I started to learn by myself how to do digital painting and how I can use 3D to make my own images while I was working at MPC. Then when I went to Illumination in Paris, it was because it's a full CG movie, animation. It's a bit more stylized, and I kind of got interested in that as well. The art department over there are so many skilled artists, and then they put paintings and images and drawings all over the studio, and I was amazed by what I was seeing every day. And then when I sit at my desk and then just click render farm and check my renders and then just wait like 2 hours for my render to finish, I get super depressed,
Yes, yes.
So I continue developing my painting and drawing skill, and I had the chance to work in the studio, so I could ask the art director some advice and opinion on what to do.
This was at Illumination, sorry, just
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
And he said, "You have to work on your colors, man. It's so bad." He was very harsh with me, so I'm glad he said this kind of thing because it makes me want to work more.
Okay, so you were getting like kind of unofficial mentoring from one of the concept artists.
I mean, I just had like one meeting with him, but it was already nice to meet people.
Huh, great.
Yeah.
And so was this like a conscious decision of yours? Like you realized like, all right, lighting TD, it's not for me. I need to get to concept art, and you were trying to hone that skill?
Yes, because actually when you work in lighting TD, they ask you to do this shot or this sequence, but you're not really that creative actually, because you have to match the concept that somebody made, like the color script or this kind of thing. So at the end, I was thinking, I want to be the guy who decide the look of the thing, not the guy who executes. So the guy a bit ahead. That's why I went this way. But it took a bit of time because after I went back to MPC, but in Vancouver this time.
Yes.
I worked on the Superman versus Batman movie, and it was, like when you're like in TD and even compositors, they so much like overtime to do, and it's very drowning. And this kind of like, I was thinking this is my last job as lighting TD, and I'm gonna just quit and then focus on concept art until I can get hired. The thing is, I get an offer to work in Singapore after at ILM. So because ILM is kind of the dream job for every artist, your students or beginners, I couldn't refuse that. So I said, okay, one last job, and I went to Singapore, and this was a horrible project. Not sure if I can talk too much, but it was the Great Wall. The movie was not good.
This was in Singapore, really, sorry?
Yeah, it's Singapore, yeah.
Okay.
In ILM, Singapore. It's just, I really lost my faith in lighting. I was thinking, okay, no.
You lost your...
my interest, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Got it. So that was your... That was the breaking point.
Yes.
Right.
But because I'm at ILM, same thing. I contacted the art director. I mean, one of the art director from San Francisco. His name is Yannick Dussault.
Okay.
And then because he can speak French, I felt a bit more connected to him.
Great.
I sent him my art station, and then actually he said, well, you kind of already have the level. You don't need to work too much on that. I'm gonna ask around if I can get you a job there.
No way.
At the time, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Unfortunately, for like visa reason, I couldn't go to San Francisco, but they hired me right away in London, in the ILM London studio.
Oh wow!
So as a junior concept artist, I was so happy.
How old were you then?
It was 2016. I was 25.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So okay. So at this point, you'd been working. When was your first gig at MPC London? How old were you then?
It was 2013, so 3 years before.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
I did 3 years of lighting TD.
Okay, got it. So 3 years lighting TD, then you finally so were you honing your skill like a lot? Like were you practicing concept art like in your free time and like trying to, okay, right. So it was a lot of work.
Kind of a bit on and off though, because sometimes like super focused on interested, you learn, and then at some point you kind of get not depressed, but more like attracted by other stuff. But every time I come back to it, I always felt I improve, even though I didn't practice, because the eyes improve and you get some thoughts and stuff like that. So it's more like a plateau and grading, like, I don't know, slowly getting better and better.
Got it. So what resources were you learning from at the time? Were you following any online courses, YouTube or books?
Not really. I was doing the, how do you call this? This speed painting Facebook group.
Oh, okay.
It's like
Right.
it's a Facebook group where every day they give you some theme, some prompt, and then you have like to paint them in half an hour without using any like photo bashing or whatever. Just
Really?
painting.
That's kind of cool.
So
Yeah.
it's to practice like imaginations, and even though like when you paint something from imagination, it's a good way to learn because you realize how much you don't know things. Like, can you draw these animals? And then, okay, you try to remember. And then when you look at the animals, and next time you start to notice, that's how we do this. And then it was a very good practice to force yourself to know what you don't know, basically.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. I heard the same thing from Ben Morrow. He said like that's a very good practice is you have a thing, you have a subject, but don't look at reference. Like, all right, draw a horse, and then you draw it, and then you look at the reference, then you draw it again, the same time,
Exactly.
and then you draw it a third time without reference. So try to remember it. So that kind of like, it's a kind of a good feedback loop because there's the first learning and then the second learning, and you kind of like doing like a recap on it. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
I did this, but I did do a matte painting class with Anthony Efraki. I'm butchering his name. I'm sorry, but it's like a CG Master Academy, or I forgot the name of the website.
Oh yeah.
But,
okay. CGMA.
It's more like yes. It's like just to learn the technical skill of Photoshop, like the tricks, how to combine photo bashing,
right,
manipulating the photos and put them together and stuff like that.
So this was an online course?
Yes.
Okay. And who was it? Sorry.
Anthony
F-A. I'll type in Anthony. I'll see if it comes up on CG Master Academy. I just want to find it so that it's like other people can maybe.
He was art director at Blizzard, actually.
Okay. I don't think he's there anymore, actually.
No, I don't think so.
I think he's left. Okay, got it.
But he was great. I think he's selling his class on Gumroad right now if people want to check it out.
Oh, okay, great, cool. I'll see if I can put the link to that in the description if I can find it. Cool. All right, cool. So it was the Facebook speed painting group. And what did that give you? Were you giving feedback to each other or?
Yeah, it's more like to force yourself to do something every day. That's all. You have to post. I didn't do it that long though, just a couple of months, I guess.
Okay.
But if you do half an hour painting every day for 2 months, it's like 60 paintings already.
Yes.
They are not that good, but at least you do something. It's better than nothing, right?
Right. Got it. And then I suppose you also get to see other people's submissions and sort of see
it's really
better
inspiring.
ideas. Yeah.
And I kind of miss this kind of community things these days. Is really, I don't know, like I feel Twitters and Instagram, they don't really have any sense of like sharing and improving together as a group.
Yes.
At that time, I was also on a forum, a French forum called Lascaux Painters. And it's the same thing, because it's more like a forum, people posting, everybody has his own threads, and then you can comment on each other's work. And there's like an emulation happening, So it was kind of cool at that time. Right now, maybe Discord is a bit like that, but kind of miss this.
I've heard a few artists that get quite a bit out of Discord. Myself personally, I haven't, but maybe I haven't been in the right groups.
I have so many Discord now. Yeah. Yeah, I guess you have to be with your friends and with a small community, because I'm in some Discord where there's too many people and it's really hard to keep track.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and if it's not moderated, it can be a nightmare. Got it. Yeah. Cool.
Do you know any art related actually? Because I'm kind of looking for some
any what, sorry?
Art related, but I don't know, more like, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I haven't. No, my first experience with Discord was with NFTs, because I did that, and everyone told me like, oh, you've got to be part of like NFT communities on Discord. Terrible. So much spam. You would not believe how much spam and like schemes you get sent every single day, and it was just terrible. It was a horrible experience. I did not enjoy it. But yeah, no, I'd be up if people have got suggestions for good art Discords with good communities. I'd love to hear it as well. Yeah.
There was one. I did the Craig Mullin's class on schoolism, but I did it like just a couple of years ago, not at the beginning of my career, when I was already as artist. I just wanted to improve my paintings, and then he had this kind of private Discord group from all the students, and it was kind of cool. It's like
lovely,
little amount of people. So if you take this class, you get access to this Discord.
Got it. And I've heard quite a few people talk about schoolism. Is it, how does schoolism work? Is it pre-recorded videos that you're watching, or is there a mentoring aspect?
There's both, actually, yes. You have pre-recordings of lessons, and then with some homework. And then there's the system that you can get some, like, one-to-one feedback with from the teacher. So not one-to-one, actually. It's more like he records his own feedback from your homework, and then you can watch it. The good thing is you can watch the feedbacks from other students. So even though you don't take the private class with the teacher, you can still learn a lot from watching the other students' feedback.
Yeah, I find that as well. Watching somebody else critique and do paintovers and stuff is really valuable.
Yeah, especially for the Craig Mullin's class. For me, it was so eye-opening. For each student, he really encouraged them to not do the homework, actually, to do whatever they want to improve on. And then he's really helping them. Because sometimes when the teacher gives like a specific image to study, all the feedback from all the students, they kind of look the same at the end. So for the Craig Mullin's class, it's all like each student has his own problem, and it's kind of nice to see how he will help them,
Nice. Okay.
I love also the Daisutsumi class, the Tonko House on schoolism. I learned a lot from how the way they separate the painting in two-step process. First they do the painting in a more neutral lighting, like overcast settings, and then they paint the lighting on top of it to keep this kind of non-destructive way of paintings. So they can always adjust the lighting if they have feedback from the director or want to make change.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Great. So were you, because I guess we'll get into the 3D aspect soon, but at this point, were you just like purely as you're learning but were you just using Photoshop, just 2D tools? Okay.
Yes. I did 3D really late, actually. Only when I started the class with Anthony on CGMA, I started to do 3D, but I really never thought about that, actually. For me, concept artists, they just do paintings, but I was thinking, why not use the skill I learned in my years as a student? And I think it was one of the benefits. One of the reason why ILM hired me as a junior concept artist, because being lighting TD, I had knowledge of the pipeline of what's happening in a movie. When you're a concept artist, because you're ahead of things, you're kind of a bit as a separate team as the rest of the ILM. So I could bring the knowledge of what's happening after, and then what's actually helping them, and also you're using the resources from ILM, like their own library and textures, and not the render farm, but it's like I was the bridge between the art department team and the rest of ILM.
Got it. Right. That does make sense. Yeah, because if you just had a completely green concept artist fresh out of university, you'd have to teach them a lot. That your work is going to be used in this way. It's going to be part of this. The next handoff is this. But if you come from that, your work can be sort of crafted with the end goal in mind. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So there's definitely value in that. Interesting.
And then these days we're using 3D for almost all the concepts that we do. As much as we can, because it's really useful for them, because we can hand over the 3D geometries and then whatever things we make, and then they just clean it up and make it better.
Yeah. There's so many advantages. Okay, so tell me, when did this start to happen? When did concept art become 3D? Or at least in your experience, it started to ramp up.
Yes, because I'm pretty sure it was like this way before my time. But it's just me taking time to realizing what we can do. The first time I did 3D was when I was a teenager, and I wanted to go in a 3D school, so I kind of started to learn Blender when it was pretty really really old, and I was pretty happy. There's 2 cylinders and 2 cubes, and look at this, I made a motorbike. No,
right.
That doesn't like that. Doesn't work like that. But yeah, it's like I don't know. Also at that time I was using Maya mostly after I graduated and doing my own stuff, because this is what the industry were using the most of the time. And Maya I was using the mental array to do my rendering, and it was pretty slow. That's why I never really thought about using 3D, because the interaction is so slow that at the end it's just faster to paint and explore in 2D rather than rendering all the time. But when I discover like V-Ray and even other software start to get faster, kind of become more useful to explore in 3D composition and lighting, and just set up some simple geometries just to figure out what we're going to be doing. One problem about this is, and it's that because I know how to do a lot of things, it's hard for me to stop myself from doing them. Like, I know how to model something nicely and put some nice texture and things like that, when at the end of the day I'm going to be painting over. So don't really need to spend that much time on stuff, and becoming too precious about the details.
Right. Yeah, having that kind of like fast and loose workflow can work against you if you. Yeah, I know what you mean. I fall into the same trap.
Yeah,
it's like getting the perfect shader. It's like I know all the shading settings, so it's like I don't just want to like slap like rust here, rust that. It's like no, I want to like tweak it and like rotate and and it's like but you're not even looking at the whole picture yet, so you're just focusing on a small little thing. And
exactly, because it's satisfying to solve and make it work.
Yes,
and
that's your puzzle coming in again. You're a problem solver. You like solving the complexity. Right. So okay,
that's why so sorry,
no go ahead.
I was just about to say that I admire when people learn 3D without having a technical background, because they can go faster into what's important. They're modeling very dirty. They do like very, very like slapping geometry together and projecting things all the way. And I don't know, it's kind of envy when you can detach from what's supposed to be. And I can relate this in my painting as well. It's easy to zoom in and to paint every detail, when it's hard for me to just zoom out and focus on the big aspects of things.
Yeah. That separation from the detail to the big picture is, because it's like I see a lot of like beautiful, not beautiful, like technically beautiful Blender renders on like Blender Artist or Reddit or something like that, where like you can tell it's technical first. They figured out all the shaders. They've got good topology, but the concept sucks. Like the bigger picture is just weak. There's nothing interesting about it. So the same amount of effort that you put into it, if you had a better concept, it would be a 10x result. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, it's better to have a nice composition than a perfect shading. I don't know. It depends on what interests you, actually. There's nothing bad about trying to do technical stuff.
Yeah.
It's just for me, it's not what's important. It's a bit like when you look at the good animation. It's the gesture and the key pose that are important, and timing. And it's, I don't know, like when you always see big shapes and medium shapes and small shapes. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to say that. But yeah, I agree totally with you. It's
do you have animation background?
I do, and my animation skills are horrible. Because I like to do the rendering part of things. Yeah. But yeah, I know how to animate in Maya.
Oh, great.
Actually, I don't know if you saw, but recently I got into rendering in Blender. Doing animation in Blender. Like small little animation, but usually they're just very simple stuff.
Really? Okay. I did see your amazing geometry nodes setup you did. I can't remember the name of the painting, but it was like what would you call it? Like a 17th century European village, but in the clouds.
Yes.
In this kind of mountain. It was that was insane. That's so beautiful. Really, really cool.
Yeah, so like I was saying, like I like technical things a little bit though, even though I was saying I wanted to get away from that. But I still like, programming and how to say, do little tools and scripts. Last year I had a chance to work on super big projects. I cannot talk about this right now, but I had to do some cities, and designing building was okay to do in the destructive way, but because they keep changing, the proportions, and because we have to design the set at the same time, like things keep changing. So I wanted to get a tool that make it a bit modular, a bit procedural. So if they say, actually the street is like 1 meter narrower, so I have to update all the buildings to keep them with all the windows exactly centers, and everything needs to be readjusted, So I was losing a lot of time, and because it's all like, I don't know, it's all hard coded. There's no really instancing and stuff like that happening. So it was a bit pain to work on. So after the project was done, I decided, okay, I'm gonna make myself a tool for next time this happens. It's gonna be a bit more easy to deal with. But yeah, this city floating in the sky is just me trying to try it out as a test, as a test run.
Right. Yeah, I'm actually doing actually right before we started talking, I'm recording a tutorial on geometry nodes for beginners.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, and explaining to beginners sort of when to use geometry nodes, because you can, it's more time consuming up front. Like it's heavier up front. Whereas if you just, slap a window on a building, you can get a result faster. But as you said, it's not as flexible. If you want to change the building scale later on, it's like now you got to reposition that window. Whereas if you programmed it into it, now it just works. But knowing that, the use cases for it's basically like if it's going to be if you're going to be multiplying something a lot, or it's going to be used in a pipeline, or there's going to be a lot of revisions. That's really where geometry nodes can help out, because it just speeds up that process.
Yeah, and actually sometimes we can see some pretty cool geometry node system, but I always thought that they are a bit too limited and only specific to one particular object or look. They are very amazing technically how they were done, but I wanted to get a system that you can still art direct a little bit, so that like it's based on something that you handmade. It's not just numbers in the settings, So that based on the curve, based on the polygons, or something that you can break basically.
Right.
All the procedural building that they were before is just like cubes basically, because they just extrude cubes up and down and then left and right, and then duplicate the floors. But I wanted to be able to add some complexity, a bit like when I do my maze. I like when it becomes a bit more messy, to add some interest.
Yeah, your buildings, they had these detailed arches, like old European, balconies and things, which is insanely complex.
Oh, but this actually now is pretty simple. That's the thing. I wanted to keep it as versatile as possible. So basically, each window is just like a plane that you model from photos. So I went to texture.com. I found some Venice building.
Oh yes, yep.
And I cut out the windows and extrude them in and out, and cut them in small parts, and then you can plug these parts in the system. So now every time you add a floor and then extrude something, it's going to automatically add the windows where you want.
Right.
The same thing for the ledges and the pillars and even the roof. So it's not that complex actually. It's more like it's whatever you want it to be. You want it to be doing. Yeah.
Right. Yes. And did you find
that to any style?
Did you find that flexibility helped as you were did you get the full usage out of it? Like, did it speed up your workflow, you think?
Yes, yeah, definitely. So for this project, like about the city, it took me just a couple of days to do, because I just create myself a library of windows and doors and stuff like that, and then I can do a lot of variation of buildings, just combining them differently, and I can duplicate the building and change the proportion and the shapes like in an instance, rather than just going in edit mode and selecting everything one by one and pushing things, make sure everything is okay. So it's like I think it's really nice for my future projects, and I hope some people will find it useful too.
All right, have you made it like available? Have you those tools?
Yeah, you can get it too.
Oh, nice.
It took me quite some time to do so. I was thinking I could sell it because it's like a lot of my time I spent on this, because it's one of my first geometry node projects. So I had to learn at the same time I was doing this. I was thinking, okay, I want to be doing this, and how to do that, and I have to figure it out, and it's so challenging. That's why I want to apologize because if you look into the node system, it's really messy. It's like it's horrible. I try to reorganize and put some like nice frames and stuff like that on the node, but
yeah. Some stuff is just complex. Yeah. We've got I've got two guys that work with me at Blender Guru, and one of them creates the artwork and the other one tries to simplify it to be teachable, basically. And so we had this topic of ice. Like, can you make realistic ice? And ice is actually very complex. Like the inner part of ice, it's got this basically it's got like a cloud, like a volumetric cloud, because as it solidifies, it like creates this cloud inside. And then there's bubbles on the cloud, and then there's tendrils of like bubbles going out of it. And then there's like on the outer shell. Anyways, like got a great result, super complex geometry node setup. Like it would take about like, I don't know, maybe an hour to kind of teach someone to like build it. And it was like, all right, is this just better off as a, like, you know, you just make the cloud out of like a sphere and you just kind of like drag it out, like just doing it manually versus the geometry nodes? Because like, yeah, geometry nodes can be more complicated.
But in the purpose of teaching, I think it's pretty cool to have this kind of tutorials, because it's showing different aspects how to do things, and when you replicate that, maybe at the end of the day it's too specific and too complex, but maybe there's a little part, this is how they do things and this is how they do that. Yes. And later you're gonna reassemble in your own way to do your own stuff after.
Yeah. That is something that that I'm trying to figure out the balance of, because there is some stuff that, like my donut, right? It's like, I don't know, what is it, like 4 hours of recordings, right? Like if you wanted to make a donut, you could learn it faster, right? But that's not the point of it. The point of it is also to learn Blender. And so at the same time, you want to teach like ice, but it's really just a geometry nodes course. You're learning geometry nodes. But also some people just want to make the ice. You know, they don't want to watch like 5 hours of how to make ice, you know, because it's like, you know, so there are like kind of two crowds of people that watch tutorials, people that just want to make the finished result, and then people who want to learn a skill that they can use elsewhere. And a lot of people like tune out when something's too long. So it's like, who am I trying to appeal to? But I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you can always provide the final result. So if they just want to make something working, they can just get it. And
yes. Yeah. I suppose that could help.
I know sometimes for me, I look at the tutorials and I don't watch the entire thing, just the part that interests me. I say, how to calculate the distance between two vertex, and then, okay, I have to do this and that. So I watch only this part. Right. I know this is tutorials about how to make, I don't know, a tree. I don't want to make a tree, but I know at some point they're going to be using a specific technique to do this specific parts. So I watch it.
Yes. Who have you found actually? Any recommendations for YouTubers, for people to check out to learn geometry nodes?
I watch the ones making like how to make a procedural buildings, just to know what people are doing these days. Yep. So I made one like that before making my own, because I wanted just to try it out, just to learn the different ropes. I made one also, I forgot the name. I'm sure if you Google, you can find, there's a famous one in 3 or 4 parts. But I made my own, pipe system also, to know based on curve. You do scatter on curve and stuff like that. It's a very good way to learn geometry nodes, because it's not that complex to do.
Okay,
and
nice.
you can make it as complex as you want, but there is I think a free Gumroad available somewhere on the pipe generator. If you open it and just analyze how they do things, you can learn a lot like that as well.
Yeah,
Not
right.
specifically a video.
Yeah. If you know enough about it, I would say. Complete beginners should probably watch videos. Yeah.
I didn't really. I mean, the first time I tried geometry nodes, it was when they started to implement it. So the things evolved so much. Like they changed the way things work.
Oh
since I started. So I not really aware about anything new because I don't need to watch them now. All the beginners.
Yeah, I know. Everyone got disheartened. Like as soon as geometry nodes came out, people like myself made these videos, and then they just changed it all. It was like, it was almost like the first version they gave us was like a beta. They should have said like, don't make any tutorials yet.
But people are so excited. It looks so cool.
I know, exactly. And so they made these like complex. It was basically like daisy chain. Everything had to be in one line. You had to pass on a variable from this to this to this. It's way easier now, but it is annoying that a lot of the content was created before they changed it. But I would recommend for anyone who's listening and wants to learn geometry nodes, Erindale on YouTube.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Yes, he's got some really... He's a guy I go to when I've got geometry nodes questions, and I have a lot of questions, and he's the wizard. So watch his stuff. He also just got a job at Ubisoft, actually. I think like lead technical artist or something, like pretty cool job.
Good for him.
Yeah, it's cool.
And actually, for Erindale, I recommend, he made a set of tools, like some set of geometry nodes group he made that he's selling.
Yeah,
they're kind of really, really good time savers for the future. Like little stuff that you can do on your own, but takes time to do at the end.
Is that the one called like EKT or something? I can't remember the name.
Toolkit, the Erindale toolkit.
Okay, got it. ETK, cool, nice. Yeah, I'll try and put links to everything that we're saying in the description. Okay, great. So you're using geometry nodes to build. It's basically like geometry nodes is kind of like artist-friendly programming. It's kind of like the best way to think of it.
Yes, because it's like visually you can see, this is connected to here, so this happened. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's not as hard to understand as programming, but almost as flexible, which is cool. So you can build something that's, you could build a little building tool that you can use in future projects.
I have to be honest, there's some part of the geometry nodes that's still obscure for me, but like everything related to data treatments, like something like the domain transfer. I don't know how to use this. But there's a lot of aspects that's still a bit obscure, but if you want to do some simple like scattering on points, you understand the concept, right? It's because like you say, it's like nodals. It's very easy to understand. Okay, this is plugged in, so this happened, and this is output. You need to understand how nodes work, like a shading, but it's very visual.
Yeah, that's right, and it's great for artists because that's how we think. You know, we're not used to like programming and referencing and variables, and it's like it plugs in from one to the other, and you get it, which is cool. But dude, some of Erindale's stuff is just wild. Ooh. It's like a map. You gotta like to drive into it, but you can go as complex as you want. That's the other thing. Like some people get scared of like material setups or geometry node setups. It's like you don't have to go that deep. You go as complex as you need to. It's
like drawing because it's like drawing for me. When you draw, everything you see can be simplified into small shapes, and geometry nodes is the same thing. That everything you see can be breaking down into small little steps. How to model a glass, you start with a cylinder or like a curve you extrude, or I don't know, and then it's really like one by one. And then what Erindale is doing when he makes his scene is like, it looks complex. It's just everything is a lot of very simple steps that he put together. And when you look at this node graph at the end, it's like, whoa, massive with all this noodles everywhere. But we shouldn't be afraid, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
But for me, like I was saying, I use it more like a tool. So I'm not trying to make things perfect. at all, especially because it's to paint over after when I do my concepts. So like I made a vine system, you know, where you draw a curve on the geometry and then it's gonna scatter some plants to create like an ivy effect, you know. The ivy are just like planes with texture of leaf, so they're very flat. But I don't care because for me it's more like a reference, like a placeholder for later when I paint. I'm gonna put a plant here or something like that.
Right. Yeah, how much of that piece did you do was a paint over?
It's hard to quantify. Most of the image there's already something that represents what I'm gonna be painting. So it's like each element, even like for the clouds, I've used some metaballs to represent the clouds, because I could be using like volumetric clouds and do like a nice EV render cycle or whatever, but because I'm going to be painting over, I just put some metaballs just to represent the shape, and later I make them look like a cloud into the like the plants and the people. I think there's a big part of painting over to hide the 3D and make it look more pretty. But I would say 50% is paint over actually. Most of the pixel of the image I've been painting over.
Oh, really? Wow. There you go.
It's like, you know, even you have a simple wall, I don't want to make it look too much like perfect. I like to have brush strokes and imperfection and break the edges, you know. You don't want to have like sharp edges everywhere.
And that's just faster to do in 2D versus 3D.
Yeah, especially for characters. You know, like I cut out some people from photo reference and then import them as plain, extrude them to get some thickness, but they don't get any like proper lighting or whatever, but they are just a placeholder in space for the reference or the perspective and a bit of the anatomy, but a bit of the lighting. But when I paint it over, I can replace all the characters and even add my own characters after. It's just at least I have something to start with, that it's not just a cube or whatever.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, so it's right. So it's using 3D where it makes sense to. Perspective, lighting, and then the 2D is giving it flair where it needs.
It also depends of how long you have to do something, because if they give you like 2 hours to do something, I just use the 3D as just to block out stuff and then replace stuff after, or just paint over the 3D directly. Or it's like, for instance, on ILM recently, I had to work on a show, and then I have to figure out an environment of a city that was destroyed. I had the 3D model of the buildings that I made myself, you know, like using whatever techniques. But at the end of the day, I put them together as side by side. All the elements I made in 3D, I put them side by side and put a sunlight, a random texture of like Star Wars panels. And then I render the single frame front, and then just each element I render, I use them like a photo bashing, you know, like they add their own layers in Photoshop, and then I readjust and move them into the space after. So basically I create my own kit bash of 2D images that I use to do my concept after. So I'm not trying to make the whole scene in 3D working right away. I just create some elements that are going to make my paint over process faster after.
Right. Yeah, got it. Quick pause to talk about you as a 3D artist. You want to be able to create good images. We all do. And that means you have to use your time wisely. And using your time wisely is not spent dealing with assets that you find randomly online. User-generated content is great when it works and is bad, really bad when it fails. That means if you buy a model or you buy a texture or material, it should just work. And that is the problem that we are trying to solve at Poliigon. We are a team of artists who are vetting the content that we create to create high quality textures and models and HDRs that just work. We've got very experienced artists that work in the industry. We know what goes into a good quality asset, and that is what we strive to create. So we have artists around the world that are going out capturing rare types of materials, generating models, and that is all at Poliigon, of course, my company, Poliigon.com, where you can find all sorts of assets for your next project. The link is in the show notes, description, wherever it is, or Poliigon, Poliigon.com for all of your asset needs. Now, back to the interview. Cool. Yeah, I find it's interesting, the move to animation now. Like Instagram has said they're not a photo app anymore. They want to be a video app.
Vertical as well.
Vertical as well.
Yeah.
And then there's like going to be virtual reality at some point that's going to take off. And so I guess what's lacking is, yes, some of those fast tools for adding visual creative flair are kind of missing from 3D, especially kind of the painterly strokes, kind of, you don't want a perfectly straight edge, that kind of thing. You want to give some, that kind of thing. I've seen a few people that can create tools like that for 3D. But it's always it's hard to do, I've noticed. Yeah.
You'd spend a lot of time to make something to not look perfect. It's like,
yes,
counterintuitive. But I think the tools are getting better and better every time, especially nowadays AI that can help a lot with this process. I'm pretty excited by the future, and I don't think we should stop 3D evolving. I saw a post recently about a guy complaining, why do we use 3D to make something look like animation? 3D should stay 3D. We are killing the 2D animation industry. But no, we should let technology and art evolve together, and then what happened. We shouldn't stop it. Especially when you use 3D, we went into the realistic route, but we can do that now. We need to explore what's beyond, and we try to recreate what we like. So they use 3D more and more in animation, an anime. Even though it looks like hand drawn, they spend a lot of time in 3D to make it look like that, because it saves them time. I understand that it's kind of killing the industry of 2D animators when things are hand drawn, but it's just temporary steps. We recreate what we like first in 3D, and then maybe slowly we're gonna get bored, and then new looks will appear. It's a bit like in paintings, That's why we have more and more movies that are in 3D but try to recreate 2D looks, like Spider-Verse, or what Alberto Mielgo is doing. And I think it's pretty exciting now that we have more and more of that, and not just the Pixar look.
Yes, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's interesting because 3D came out. I mean, I guess I was maybe a little young, but yeah, like Toy Story. I was not into art then to know how it felt to be a 2D artist, But I can imagine it was a very this is the end of 2D kind of feeling. Is it all going to be 3D at some point?
Probably, yeah. And
it took a while, but eventually, it kind of was all 3D. So if you stuck to your roots, digged your heels in and said, I'm not going to learn 3D, just going to do 2D, you would have found yourself somewhat out of a job eventually at Disney and everywhere else. But that said, there is still that need for this interpretive, not everything perfect, just exaggeration, stylization that is missing from the sterile 3D world still. So we try to fuse them like Spider-Verse.
Yeah, to me, it's going to be always about the story anyway, whatever technique you use. So Toy Story was amazing technically, but it also had a good story. And without that, nobody would remember this movie, I think.
Yes, yeah,
just
definitely.
As a technical prowess, but that's all right.
Yeah, that's always the thing. It's like you could have a shading artist who's making a shader, and it's a really good shader on a character, but it won't matter if the character's animation looks janky, right?
Exactly,
and
yes.
The silhouette and the exaggeration, all that, it won't matter. But also that won't matter if the story sucks.
Exactly,
if people don't connect with the characters, it's just a forgotten movie, So it's we're all sort of depending on the guy at the top with the story to make it actually good. And Yeah, so often it's not.
Yeah, that's why it's better to have a nice animation with gray shader than somebody super beautiful with bad animation. This hierarchy, I think.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So coming back to AI, because that's the topic of the day, how have you used it so far? What do you like?
I really like it for now. For me, I'm pretty optimistic about it. I watched your interview of Finian and I kind of agree with everything he said. It's just a tool, and things will evolve and change. Things change all the time, and we should embrace things.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine the AI being involved in whatever aspect, in all the aspects that we use to make movies now. Even just rigging or even texture painting, whatever. I think AI can be used anywhere that we have data for. I think like enough data to learn. For me, AI, I'm using it these days just to like Pinterest, to explore ideas, and I'm pretty happy because these days it's not perfect. It's still abstract enough to give some room for imagination. It doesn't give you a result that it's too finished.
Yes,
so it's pretty nice for that.
Yeah. It's killer at creative exploration.
Yeah, but I can totally imagine in the future, like something included in Photoshop when you can control by voice, saying, "Oh, can you make this elephant more blue? Can you do this thing more like this?" Or just like you paint some area and say, "I want this area to be only sky." I mean, NVIDIA can do this already, but like to implement these tools in the painting process, I can totally see this happening at some point.
Yeah,
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
More people can access art, and then things will be pushed outside of the box, and new things needs to be discovered, I think. After that.
Yeah. It's I guess it's in a way it's not really that different to other, like, to software, right? Because software has been making things easier so that we can produce things more efficiently, right? Like Photoshop layers means that you're not just painting onto one thing, and then if you wanted to change that, you've got to like repaint an area and move it down and repaint it, So layers were it allowed people to do more, be more flexible and work faster. But I guess what's different, what's that?
The undo button.
Yes, and the undo button as well allows you to be more free, you can be more risky. But I guess the thing that is worrying, I think, a lot of artists is that AI is different to traditional programming in that it is able to combine lots of steps in one to the point that it can replace a job. So I guess like a simple one is like Photoshop has now got like sky replacement, right? That probably was someone's job on Fiverr, right? Just replacing skies. Now, if you've got Photoshop, if you knew what you were doing, you could just get that done in one click. For sure, he'll still have work because not everybody has Photoshop, but at some point it's going to be built into the OS that we use or our phones or something like that. And you just won't matter. You'll just be able to go, take a photo and then go, I don't like the sky. Show me sunset, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so how it applies to concept art is like, for now, it is kind of, it's taking a bunch of things, it's combining it into new ideas, and the way it thinks is interesting. It's like a person, almost. Like the closest thing, like when you go to like compare it, you don't really think of comparing it to software. You think of comparing it to almost a very junior, illiterate artist who doesn't really know what they're doing, but they're still almost a person making these actions. Like I've seen some, like, I watched this video yesterday of shoe concepts, just creating different designs of shoes, and like you type in like a shoe in the design of a stingray but with stained glass, and it creates this totally weird but still a shoe, and it's a very cool concept. That is not something that software could ever do before. So I guess the question is, how far will AI go?
I think it's gonna go pretty far based on the speed. Yeah. So I'm more in the optimist side of things. Like, in life, things evolve all the time. At some point they use horse every time. Now, like how blacksmiths disappear because we don't need horse anymore. It's like it's normal to evolve. And I'm also optimistic in a sense, like I was saying, it's gonna give access to more tools to people to create what they think, what their ideas is. Some people have a lot of great ideas but don't have the skills to do them, and I'm pretty sure they are worth looking at them.
Yes.
My concern is that we're gonna have like a flood of things coming from everywhere, a bit like what's happening right now on LinkedIn or like on Twitter. You can see all this amazing AI image. Maybe people's gonna start to get bored by this because, like Fian was saying, right now we kind of see when something is made by AI or not. Like there's a
look, yeah.
Appears. But when the pattern will disappear, I guess, I don't know, there's going to be like so many content created all around the world. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. Right now, we still need somebody to decide because it's more like we have a lot of choice. Maybe one thing that will happen is that, choice paralysis, like when you have too many options, it's kind of, I don't know what to pick, so you still have to have a high sense to know what's good or bad. And this is the hardest things to learn. It's like learning composition. Composition is so relative to taste. Everything is related to taste, but you know what I mean? It's like the AI can generate ideas, but it cannot choose or it cannot create meanings yet. And I say yet because I'm sure it will happen at some point. But yeah, I think it's gonna evolve, and in all the disciplines, and job probably will diminish and disappear. Even like these days, a long time ago they used to have roto painter and then doing extractions and stuff like that. Now the tools are so evolved that you need less people to do this, or like conversion into 3D or into stereoscopy, or like in every department things are changing. And I think it's a bit sad some job will disappear, but maybe they're going to be replaced by other things.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And anyone who really knows and is passionate about their job doesn't need to fear, because if you're passionate, you're always creating and you're always going to be looking at new things. And so you're going to be ahead of any change. Like they're not, the AI is moving fast, but it's not just like overnight going to like make something redundant. And yeah, it really only will not. It's bad news for people who don't want to learn anything new. That's really what it is.
Maybe it's a bit like when photography appears for painters. They think, what's the point of painting when we take photos now? And then painting evolved and went away from realism, because now we have photography. So they went to abstract things, more like impressionistic paintings.
Yes.
When photography appears. Maybe digital painting and stuff like that will evolve. I don't know how, but somehow. We have to be excited about what we don't know, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's probably the best comparison is the photo versus the painter. That a lot of the painting industry, back in the 1800s, before cameras had really taken off. I think it was the 1800s, right? That was when it started to...
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, that was when it started to kick in. But like a lot of that was... it was because people wanted a portrait. They wanted a photograph of themselves. They wanted to, this is my wife, this is my kids, whatever. And so a lot of painters must have been mortified to learn that there was a magical tool, a box using wizardry that would capture your soul and frozen in place. And it just did all their work for them. In a lot of ways, that will eventually be AI for 3D, for everything. All the manual work that we've been doing to build scenes, to make a character or make the shader look good, or the pose or the animation, all that manual work will be done with a click. And so the question is do you like the manual work, or do you like creating? Because if you like creating, it should enable you to create at an unparalleled speed than you've previously have not experienced or seen anyone do before.
Yeah, and I was wondering also if maybe work made by AI, they don't have the same value of somebody working on a piece for months. There's this guy, he made a short movie, he spent his whole life painting frame by frame on glass. The movie is beautiful, but could be done way faster with the technology we have these days. But the thing has way more impact now, us knowing that this guy worked so much on this. When you can generate an image in one click and post it on the internet, can you really be proud of this? Can you really be proud of just typing a text? Can you pretend, I'm mastering how to talk to the machine? No, really. It's still the programmer who made the AI deserve this job. And not even that, actually, because they take the reference from internet, and most of the people, they type like Craig Mullins or, I don't know, other artists as a reference to inspire the AI. But without the Craig Mullins guy, the AI would not be able to generate something new.
Exactly.
Like the combination of color. Maybe it's gonna feed on itself but it's gonna be a bit incestuous at the end, and maybe everything's gonna look like gray or brown. So I don't know. I think we could like still have this kind of sense of like the amount of work that has been put behind.
Yeah, I think eventually we might actually get used to seeing artificial images more than we see actual images. By that I mean, like, for example, like yesterday I was I'm making this tutorial, as I said, of like geometry nodes. So I was thinking, like, I want to teach people how to do like a sugar scattering on candy, like sugar coated candy. I did a tutorial on it before they changed it. Now I got to redo it. Anyways, but I was thinking, like, what if you could have like a candy that was like in the shape of like a robot or a little cute monster or something? Like, that'd be cool. There was nothing on Google, so I went to Midjourney. Midjourney failed. Dolly, better, but it was still like not really sugar coated, but it was better. But the images were like really close to like actual images of lollies, candy, that like, and Google is working on one called Imagen, and for sure I'm predicting that would just smash it out of the park because it's got the largest data set. I could be wrong. But so when they've got that, would Google image search be sometimes creating artificial results for you? Like, it could. Like, if you typed in into Google image search that was so specific, it might just have to generate the result for you. And then gradually it would probably just start generating results for the specific thing that you want all the time. You know, like a fridge with magnets and something in a rustic kitchen. Right. It's like, it hasn't got that image yet, so it's just going to generate it for you because that's what you want, you know?
There's a website like that when I'm looking for persons, cut out of people to put in my scenes, in my concept, where you can type like, I want a group of 5 persons and they're all wearing white shirt, or I want like 2 kids or doing that. Like, you can really type exactly the age that you're looking for, the number of people, if they are facing the camera, facing the back or the side, or walking action. Right now, it's all based on like tags on the image, but I'm pretty sure the AI can generate this one day. You can even, I'm pretty sure, like change the time of the day of the image. Or,
definitely. You could get really specific, couldn't you? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
What else? Change the angle. You could go like same image, different angle, move the camera 3 meters to the right, generate a
whatever the human can do if you asked him to do by himself. Like just by guessing how something will look. I guess the AI can do it. Faster and better.
That is true.
So for me, it's going to be mostly a tool for that. It's going to help just to generate things, and then it's going to be my job to sort what's generated and then to improve based on that. For now. Maybe one day my job is going to disappear. Like, I don't know if it was Finian or you or somebody else, but imagine you read a book and then when you select the paragraph, it's going to generate the image of what you're reading on the side or something like that. That'd be cool.
Right. True. Yeah. That'd be, oh man, that's definitely a feature that Amazon's going to jump on for like the Kindle or something. Just like self-illustrated books as you read it. That'd be cool.
I think the tree is already working. I think I saw some tests like that. The images are pretty simple, but like you just select a paragraph and then it's gonna create an image based on this paragraph on the side.
Wow. Yeah. And eventually it'll be an animation, and then another step it'll be a game. You can jump into a book in a video game format and watch it unfold. That'd be a wild day.
Same for 3D as well. Like you can generate 3D model based on photo already, so it's I can see apply for everything.
Yeah.
I wish there has a tool like you have a 3D object, you do some texture, and then you click one button, generate weathering, and then automatically put all the logical weathering effects where it's supposed to be. That would be cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Like all the leaking and things like that. Right now they do this like by doing some simulation of water particles dripping and stuff like that. But the AI can do it by just guessing.
That's right. And it could even do a better job of it because it's working off reference photos rather than fully just, simulation. Yeah. Crazy future that awaits us. I guess the question then, and it's something that I don't know, because I think I asked on Twitter once, I was like, how do the concept artists, how do you feel about AI? Are you worried? Are you okay with it? And then, one concept artist was like, okay, it's great, it's good, but it doesn't understand how to make a good image. It doesn't know good composition. It doesn't know, storytelling. It doesn't know the lighting, all that kind of stuff. And then somebody replied to it and said, don't you think that's inevitable that it would understand that? It would
at some point.
At some point. And to be fair, like some of the images that it's already generating, it's already got pretty good composition because it's based off of photos, and maybe if you type in award-winning photography or something, it'll get even better because it's using a different data set. And so will it matter if the artist knows this composition stuff? Like, will all that design fundamentals, how important will that be and for how long? Because at the start, that will be the big deciding factor of like, okay, everybody can create stuff with AI, but if you're not an artist, you're creating shit. But it's only just today. Maybe in the future, it'll also be an artist.
I guess even these days, even the AI these days, I guess, start to understand abstract concepts, like philosophical stuff. If you type like scary images, it's going to look at the database of what does it mean scary and show us some scary images. But at some point, I think it's going to go even deeper than that. Right now, for me, the limitation is mostly about like how things are connected into each other. They're related, not just like mixing the lighting and the color together, but also like the perspective or like the meanings of what they represent a bit more precisely. But I don't know. I think at some point it's going to be like learning. There is some books, how to learn composition from Edgar Payne, for instance. Maybe the AI can read the book and then understand and okay, this is what it means, a good composition. You have to put something there, balance, contrast,
Or it could just, use data sets of like ArtStation, photography, websites and go like, these are the most popular artworks. These must be good, right?
And also like very often we have like company who hire artists and say, oh, can you make painting in the style of this other artist that is too expensive for us to hire, but can you try to replicate this a little bit, please? And then now with AI, they can do it more easily.
You really can.
You have some filter.
You just have to type
There's some filter on the phone where you can transform your face into like the Arcane from Netflix.
That already exists?
On the phone. Yeah, it's pretty limited, but I think at some point it's going to be way more advanced than that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that we're going to still need artists to guide and have a look on what's good and bad for a pretty long time, I think.
Yeah. I think
if not, we're going to...
Sorry, go on. You go.
No, I was just thinking about, the movie WALL-E.
Yeah.
Where everybody is just sitting on its chair and everything is controlled by AI everywhere. I really don't want this to happen. But if AI go to everywhere at some point...
Yeah, well, I mean, that is the question, right? It's like, will AI get to a point in which it removes the need for... Because basically, like, throughout history, there's always been technological changes, right? There used to be, I think I said this in the interview I did recently, but a guy who would go down the street and light lamps with a candle, like just... and then go again and put them out at the end of the night and that was a job, a lamp lighter, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he didn't have a job when electricity came out, right? And if somebody back then had said, this is crazy, we're not going to be employable soon because you've got electricity taking our jobs, you'd be like, what are you talking about? There's so many other things you could do, right? Yeah. But I don't know. I guess it's just AI is different in the sense that it can really sort of replicate human creations. I don't know. It's just I don't know enough about it to understand what it's doing, but it definitely feels different.
I guess it's really the only thing that matters to me. It's like how the society will evolve around that. Like, is it an opportunity to work less at the end and mm-hmm. have a better, I don't know, different economic system?
Yes.
But actually can be cool. Yeah, it's really matter like how we handle it. And if you end up in the streets because you lost your job, I think human is very good at creating their own problem to solve. So they're gonna be other things to do at some point. But
until robots.
Until robots do everything for us. Actually, recently, I watched the movie I, Robot. With Will Smith.
Yeah.
And there's this quote where the Will Smith and the robot talk, and then the Will Smith asks the robot, "Can you compose like a music? Can you paint a masterpiece?" And then the robot reply, "Can you?" And then actually now the robot can. So
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, crazy time. Cool. Well, that was the AI discussion part. Coming back to your work, to jump gears for a bit. Okay, so you went to MPC, then Illumination, then back to MPC, and then you went to ILM Singapore. How'd you end up in Australia, where you are right now, in Sydney?
So when I started working in London and as a junior concert artist after Singapore, actually it was my dream project. First time I arrived there, you're gonna be working on Jurassic World 2. So cool.
Nice.
So nervous, so stressed. So it was great. I had to do black and white quick sketches to explore ideas of what could happen in a movie. Like the director, he said, we have this sequence. I need the character to go from A to B. What can be cool to happen? So we have to propose ideas and generate and really be involved in the production of the movie. There was something that I missed when I was doing lighting TD. So I was so happy. Really, I can be so proud now seeing that I have the idea. I made this shot, even though I didn't do technically, but I had the idea and give to the director. Didn't really happen on Jurassic World, but on other projects, yes. It's like we help. We have this emulation, especially because we were like a small team in a room and we all work on the same project. We all propose ideas. We all talk to each other and show our work. It was really a great time. I loved this moment, and especially the team over there was really amazing. And then after that, I worked on the Star Wars 8. So same thing, like a big dream project for me. It was mostly involved in the VFX part of things. So when you do concept art, we can do that pre-production and post-production when you are in ILM. And then Jurassic World was the pre-production, and Star Wars the post-production. So basically, we're helping the other department do their work. So sometimes the client send a storyboard image, and then before giving them to the 3D artist, they ask us to make a painting just to show them what they have to do and to iterate on ideas faster. So they can show the VFX supervisor, we're gonna be doing this, or this, which one do you prefer? And then they pick. We also paint over the shots. We create some props and design. For Star Wars, we had to do background spaceships, or even just sometimes they have a spaceship design that's just an idea, but we have to make it more okay, what do I actually need to be modeled? Or, this kind of city or environment. Sometimes when they start the post-production, they're not sure about a lot of things before actually starting the modeling part and the creation. So we have to help them transition.
Oh, really? Okay. So maybe also, a vehicle in Star Wars might not be finished yet, or the idea isn't there yet. Okay.
Maybe the big shapes is there, but we have to make sure that looks like we do the details, we change some proportions, we adapt to the constraint of the shots. Actually, they realize it won't be working as they wanted. So yeah, we help the others department actually, let's say, be faster, because we can iterate. When we do our images, we don't worry about technical things at all. We can just, sometimes we just paint, sometimes we do our own 3D, but without worrying about how many pixels, or polygons, how many triangles, topology. We do things dirty and quick, so we can just be a bit more creative. Sometimes the artists, that they are very good at what they're doing, but because of the technical limitation, you kind of have the tendency to limit yourself. Like, for instance, if you do a spaceship that has a very complex shape, you don't think about the complex shape first because it's hard to model. So you go for the easy solution. I mean, unless you're a very skilled 3D artist, but not everyone is like that. So it's nice to have somebody that can just do a drawing and say, okay, model that. And that's a bit better. Also, sometimes we just help them make something look better. So they have a shot kind of working, but need 10% more of work in the compositing or whatever, just to make it look stand out even more. Or like, we don't understand what to look at, we need to change the lighting, we need to change stuff. So rather than going to the lighting TD or the compositing department, we ask the art department to propose options. Very rough, sketchy, just explore idea faster than waiting for like days of rendering to judge something.
Right.
Also in London, I had the chance to work on the Fantastic Beast, because basically the ILM art department is his own little company next to ILM. They are attached, but we also work on projects that ILM is not working on sometimes. We do like a pre-production concept art, or like bidding, when the director have an idea and they want to get some money, so production. But we also work for other company, like we work on the Fantastic Beast, designing creatures. And for creatures, it's the same thing, like we start with quick sketches and we propose some ideas, and then they pick this one, and after we do like a full color versions. Each artist has his own preference, so some people they just do 2D, some people they go ZBrush right away and they do things. So every project is different. I have anecdote to tell about that. Is each directors and each client has his own preference. And I remember we were working on Jurassic World. We had to design this new dinosaur, the Indoraptor that Jama Jurabev designed. But at the beginning of the project, some other artists were working on that, but they were all doing like super nice ZBrush sculpt, like very detailed, each scale, and very beautiful dinosaurs. But the director never reacted to them because they are too finished. They are too they don't give any room for imaginations, and they don't have any mood, or like, even though you put some realistic texture and cool lighting, they look too much like a final product. And the director, which is G.A. Bayona, he really reacted well to a sketch that Jama made. I don't know how long it took him, but it's just a silhouette of a dinosaur. But you can already have a feeling and mood, of what it could be in terms of like once on screen. And then he iterated from this silhouette and from this like white eyes or whatever. Then he had this like yellow straps on the side, and it was really cool to see the evolution based on the simple sketch. So that's why sometimes the art department are good to just think in a more loose way, to give room for people to expand on ideas. If you show them something too finished and too matte painting, realistic, this sometimes is not a good thing. Actually, they kind of close the door. They refuse stuff because
that's the pre-production phase.
Yeah, pre-production phase. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
In post-production, you have to go realistic because you have to be precise in what they're gonna have to be doing. So you have to, even though you do a painting sketchy, it has to have the right sense of like realism in the value and the colors.
Got it. Yeah, I was talking to Jad Saber a couple of days ago, and he was saying that he was talking about concept art for video games, for Last of Us, and he was showing some of these like fully, like almost photograph looking concepts that were done. And yeah, he was saying that, you know, it's done to that level because that's what everyone else is copying. They're copying that exact lighting, the shading, the placement, the composition, even the layout of it. I guess I'm just curious. Yeah. So like when you're talking about pre-production and taking something too far so that there's no room for imagination, how do you know? Because obviously sometimes they might want to know, what is the dinosaur skin going to look like? So some people went too far, but in other cases they might have not gone far enough, you know?
I mean, it's the same thing we discussed at the beginning. Like we have to start with the big shape first. We have to approve the idea of what's the intentions, and then slowly go into detail. If we start modeling the claw of the dinosaur when you don't know how the big shape looks like, it's kind of useless, right? So it's like an order process. Yeah.
Got a hierarchy of detail.
Yeah. But on the other hand, it really depends on the directors and like what's the purpose. Some of the producers, they like to see realistic stuff, and we have to paint realistic stuff. They don't like sketchy. So it's really, you have to adapt. Yeah. And I'm more into sketchy guy. I prefer to be a bit more loose and stuff.
Right.
Like recently I worked on this big project. I had to design a city. The first thing I did was just painting, like thumbnail, you know, like 1 hour of paintings on the image, and I give up like quick options like this to the production designer. It was I don't know. It's a nice process to start like that, to not be too precious. If you spend like 2 days working on a building and they say, we don't want this design, kind of waste of time, right?
Right.
I don't know. And then also when you work too long on something, you kind of a bit scared of changing things because it's like, too much work on this texture. I don't want to change it to something else now.
Yeah, right. Right. Got it. Getting attached.
Yeah. But then after, like, for personal reason, I had to be transferred to Vancouver in ILM, and I worked on like Aquaman and Aladdin, and each project has its own problem to solve, like underwater, how to show underwater things. You know, like in real life, water you don't see very far. But you have to show an entire city underwater, and then the colors they disappear very quickly underwater. So we have to find a way to make it realistic, but at the same time you can see things. And all the design, they were kind of cool, you know, inspired by sea stuff, to design the vehicles and all the buildings and everything. And it was really cool to work on this project as well.
Oh, nice.
And then Aladdin, same thing, different problem Aladdin, because sometimes I have to help the department to figure out how to do a shot that like for instance, they shot the movie in London, in the Pinewood studio. The movie takes place in some kind of Arabic country. It's a bit of different weather between London and an Arabic country. So it's kind of, everything is overcast, and they always have to find a way to make the shot look good and in the sunlight, even though all the plates, they were shot under the grey sky of London. And
oh, wow.
was a bit of a problem to solve all the time. But it was kind of cool because each movie has its own like universe. I had to learn about, like Persia or like whatever country it was, and I also work on the Jurassic World on the post-production part of it. And same thing, you know, they come to you with a shot and then they say, okay, this is the first pass. Where should we go next to make this thing better? And how to make this dinosaur more realistic?
Right.
Then at some point I expressed my interest of becoming art director, and then so they gave me this trial project called Jungle Cruise, where I was working alone on this with the supervisor directly, and I had to design some sequence and environment and everything directly with him. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, tell me about what is the art director? That sounds like a very senior role. Is that's quite a coveted role, I imagine? A lot of people want to be art director.
Not everyone wants to become an art director because it means more responsibility and problem to deal with.
Okay.
Like I know some of the artists in ILM, they are very, very talented. but they don't want to have to worry about anything. They just tell me what to do, I will do it.
Okay.
So,
So is the art director the one who's like, they're making a lot of the decisions that the younger guys are doing?
Yes, you have to have usually you have a team under you. You tell him, okay, you do this, you do that, you do this. You explain what to do more or less. You have to try to give them also room for creativity, to not too much like tell him, no, do like that, and then that's all. You have to think ahead of the problem that will come as well. When you look at what's currently in the production, you think, oh, later gonna be working on this, so I have to start thinking about that problem. Or you have to really be proactive, you have to think about technically what's going to happen after, so it's better to figure out this shot first, because if I figure out this shot, this other shot will follow. It's all about planning and solving problems, left, right, center, like this. All kind of direction, the kind of things to figure out, and from every department. But yeah, it's mostly about more tasks to do. It's not necessarily about the importance of the task, because you can be just concept artist working on something super cool. It can be like the main environment is just as an art director, you have to deal with multiple things at the same time and delegate your work to other artists.
Okay, got it. So it's a lot of, so it's working with the director, I imagine, or the writer?
So in my position, I was working with a supervisor, the VFX supervisor.
Okay.
Which is the one taking the decision like on all department. Basically, it's like supervisor, the role of art director. You have like lighting supervisor, modeling supervisor, where they are above the leads, and then they give feedbacks on the task.
Got it.
And then all the department supervisor, they worked under the VFX supervisors, who is the guy like the main talking point to the client. But yeah, like I work in parallel with all of these other supervisors, and it's pretty versatile and adaptable. I kind of like working on that. And when I was in Sydney, I was art directors on this new show coming soon. And at some point, I was working on one specific show, but when this show was done, all the other shows, they started asking me, can you help on this? Can you help on that? And then actually the job of art director didn't really mean anything at the time, because it's more about doing actual concept art here and left and right. And art director was more like a titles when you work alone, But I kind of like this experience, yeah. When you look at the credits and then you see art director titles in the credit of the movie.
Yes.
They have another meaning also, I think, when you're on set. For me, the art director on set, and maybe I'm wrong, but they are the one who design the actual set that they are building. A bit like architect, that they do the plan, the drawings and everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This is a different meaning that art director in ILM. Yeah.
It's the bigger picture stuff. It's the making sure all the pieces, the layout, everything works together coherently, so that you don't have like one junior who's going off creating in a different style or something that's not going to solve the problem for this scene, and it's keeping an eye on all those pieces and planning it out, right?
Yes.
Right.
Then when you look at the art director in animation studio, it's even different, because they have to control more things. When I work on ILM, I have plates from the client, from the production company, that I have to work with. But when you work in an animation studio, you have to create everything from scratch. So you have to create, guidelines of like a bit like art, not how to say, like a Bibles of how the movie will look like, what kind of color they use, what kind of shape they use. So you provide a lot of reference. It's a lot of reference hunting, like quick paintings or color script, this kind of thing, to help the other background artists to create whatever they have to create.
Okay,
so
got it.
Can be changed a lot. And when on the latest project I worked on, I was involved right away on the design of the city, but I had so much influence on it. We can say it's like art directing the city, even though I had the title of concept artist. Really, I don't know. It's just a title for sometimes art direction.
Right, got it. Yeah, I'd imagine there's differences between studios as well, and yeah. Depends on the project.
Yeah, because the artistic decision, like I propose stuff, I say, okay, I like this, I like that, I like that. Which one you prefer? The one who takes the decision on the visual at the end is still the director or the VFX supervisor or somebody above me when I'm art director.
Right.
If you're art director for animation project, I believe it's different, where they are really the one in control of the look. Even though they have a good connection with the director and they keep exchanging ideas, I think a bit different of role.
Got it. And I imagine the director is the head honcho. The buck stops at him.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, even though I'm pretty sure there's also like a group of productions that behind who can really put a veto on an idea on the director.
Right.
You have so many stories of director quitting because nobody listened to their ideas.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
Good.
Yeah, the politics of movie creating, I'm sure isn't fun.
Yeah,
and it was like what was that? The Zack Snyder cut? Like, what was that? That was that whole controversial thing. They released it, then people hated it, and they wanted to see the original one so much, then they released it again.
Yeah,
with his one. It's like, God, you guys really fucked it up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they did this because it showed that. They were an interest, and then it's not because you're in the control of the money said that your idea is always good, and you have to let sometimes the artist be artist, and take risk. I don't know, I really like this next Snyder cut that released last year or 2 years ago.
I haven't seen either of them, unfortunately. I can't comment. But is it good? You like it? You worked on it.
It's no, I worked on the Batman versus Superman, but.
What was the Zack Snyder one then? I thought it was that.
Oh, it's Justice League.
Ah, okay. Got it. Yep. Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I was about to say, like I worked on Space Jam also, and Space Jam had a change of director halfway through the pre-productions.
Oh,
and that was really sad because the first director had some really cool idea visually, and the movie was way more dark and meaningful.
Really? That's a shame. I didn't know that. I had no idea. I didn't hear much about it except that people were disappointed with the final result. That's gotta suck. Being the second director on a production, it's like, hey, salvage this, right? We don't want to lose too much money, so whatever's done here, try to make it work. It's like,
yeah, it doesn't end up well usually. Like look at the Han Solo movie. I don't know if you watched it, but I really wanted to watch the original movie that was planned to be made from the directors of the Lego movie, I think.
Oh, I didn't know there was a director change in that either.
So they were supposed to do Han Solo, and then they changed the director for Ron Howard. So the two guys who were supposed to do the Han Solo movie, they left and they went to make the Spider-Verse movie. So it's like a win-win at the end. I mean, not a win-win, it's like a win for a lose at the end. So I'm pretty happy that this happened because they made this Spider-Man movie. But I would love to have seen this movie.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's rough. Damn.
That's why I'm pretty happy with these days. We have Netflix, we have Amazon, Disney Plus, and all the different platforms. Now they're kind of fighting to have their own IP and like iconic brand and iconic series to attract people. So
that's true.
I think there's an emulation these days that be more like push, I don't know, creativity, trying to take risk.
Yes.
I think it's pretty cool for that.
I'm really excited to see what AI does to ideas, because I think already you can see fresher ideas than before.
Have you?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go on.
Have you read the script made by AI already?
No. What's that?
It's so funny. Like they ingest a lot of script from movie script, and they try to end up with a movie, and it doesn't make sense. Like each single line is like a bit disconnected between each other. But it's so funny. Like I'm sure if you type quickly, you can.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think I have seen a few like comedic ones, but yeah.
But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe the AI, they're gonna be able to understand the structures at some point, and or here have dialogues, or even, like they use AI even in programmation right now to fix the code of code.
Yes, right. Stuff. It's huge. So, we're on the cusp of something huge. There's a book I read a while ago 13 Forces, but it's by Kevin Kelly. The immutable forces that'll change the future. Anyway, but it was talking about how AI is kind of like if you think about electricity back in the 1900s, it's like, what, 1800s? It was basically, it's going to be that, but for AI, meaning like back then, a lot of businesses and companies got rich by simply adding electricity to something that was manual. So a water pump, you make it an electric pump, and now it just works, and everyone goes, that's amazing, and you sell like 1 million of them. The same thing is going to happen. You're going to take something that you do manually today, you make it AI, and then you sell that. Reach topology, make it AI. Lighting, make it AI. This idea generation, 3D modeling, that'll be AI eventually.
Animation is doing AI right now, and I think it's something that I miss in video games these days. When you look at animation in video games, they kind of like loop animation to loop animation.
Yes.
It's like you can see the transition between the animations.
Yes.
And it's never really organic in the way how they move or interact with the environment. And I know that they can use AI to do parkour system and like stuntman running around. And,
yes.
Like Assassin's Creed, climbing on the wall and this kind of thing. They can use AI now to generate this.
Yeah, I saw another. It was a really cool one that was for walking over obstacles. They used AI that, like, typically it was, the character would slow down if it was going uphill or something. These kind of janky solutions. But on this one, like, it would, like, the character would adapt. Like, it comes across like a box or a rock, and it would have to like move the foot over here in order to jump over to there, and it was just like automatically, and also like changing direction. If you're running in somewhere and then you have to change, instead of just going like and like that, it would like slow down and like put its foot out to go in the other direction. It was really interesting, and I think for sure we'll get better products out of it. We'll get much better entertainment than we already have.
Did you try the game called AI Dungeon?
No.
So it's like a prompt game where it's just text, okay? But you can type whatever you want, and then the AI is going to reply. So, okay, I get this character. Can you walk left, open this door, do this? Maybe there's Michael Jackson coming, or whatever you can imagine. Like,
okay.
Whatever you want. It's going to react and create your own story based on that, okay? It's a game.
Huh.
But imagine in a video game in the future when they can dynamically create a quest line, and I don't know, in the video game it adapts a bit more to what you do, a bit more realistically.
Yes. I would see a huge opportunity for games to have audio feedback, meaning you've got a microphone, you could talk to a character. Like, think of like all these like detective games, right? You've got prompts and you got to choose like from A, B, or C. I want to say this, I want to say this. Like, what if the game was like, you got to like solve a murder and you just got to walk around and actually talk to people, and you got to build trust in order to get them to reveal information. You got to do that like you do a real human, and then it adjusts the story depending on what you're doing. Like, it would be, it's going to get weird. Like, real life is going to fuse with the virtual. I can see it. It's going to be weird.
Did you see that they tried to use some footage from GTA where they applied a realistic filter on top?
I did see that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That was pretty cool. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I think visual, like adding detail. I've already seen it in a few, like upscaling. It'll actually add extra detail where there's missing, and sometimes it's actually better than like the original. But for sure that'll happen. Like, all right, I made this building, but it's crappy. Like, add some cracks and leaking grunge, as you said, to make it better.
Yeah.
Finish this for me. That'll be a button.
And sorry to come back to this discussion on a philosophical level. Have you read the book Dune?
Yes, I have.
If I remember correctly, the story of Dune takes place in the future where they kind of ban AI. Like, they don't use computer at all in the story because in the past AI took over the world, and it was like kind of
I don't remember
tragedy.
that
So they decided to ban
Dune.
this at all. So that's why they in the book they kind of recenter the whole technology on human, and they train the human to be like human computer and then to do all this, like this guy who can calculate stuff and stuff like that. So you don't have any single robot in Dune because they banned this. They went into the route of AI, and then it didn't end well, so they have to.
Oh, interesting. Oh, wow.
But this is more like the lore of Dune.
Vision of the future.
Yeah. Maybe in the future it's been the same. We can have like a big world war with Terminator kind of style, and then and then after it's going to be forbidden to use AI at all.
Wow. Damn. Yeah, I must have missed that. Maybe that was the setup. That I
think it's like the next books. It's not the first book. It's like the
okay. That's maybe why I missed it. Okay, got it. Wow, cool. Well, that was we went in a lot of places, but that was I loved all your advice on learning concept art, and it's interesting to hear your transition from lighting to concept. Give some hope to the technical artists out there that want to do more artistic stuff. Well, thanks so much, Julien. Is there any other question that I should have asked you? Anything you want to talk about before we close?
Not I can think about right now.
Cool.
It's very nice to talk to you. It was cool. Yeah, very, very rich.
Cool. Awesome.
I love this kind of topic. Yeah, very cool.
Oh, nice. And so where can people find you? You've got stuff on ArtStation.
Yeah, I try to be on Reddit these days. Not Reddit, sorry, Twitter. But I kind of not really social media guy though. I kind of get too distracted, so I like to just post stuff and never look at it.
That's the way to go.
You have this tendency sometimes to look at the likes and that's like, no, I don't want to be attracted by that. It's just I use it more like a how to say, a sketchbook. No, like a sketchbook, more like a diary of like to keep track of what I'm doing. And then in the future I'm gonna look back and say, oh yeah, I mean this, yeah, that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so I apologize if I don't reply to anybody asking questions.
That's the way to do it, man. I mean, good, because I mean, like, social media's got an upside, right? It's like, it's good to market yourself. It's free marketing, I guess. But yeah, if you're not careful, you will lose your life trapped on social media, consuming other content. So I think that's actually a good thing, the way you're doing it. Post it, forget about it. That's the way to go.
Yes, I turn out all notification, especially if maybe it happened to you one day. I'm sure, like you share, you post something, you're super like popular, and it adds pressure for the next time you create something.
Yes, it does.
It's like, oh, I'm gonna disappoint them now.
I got to do something big to beat the last one. Yeah. I get that with YouTube.
Yes, I can imagine that.
It's not good. Awesome. All right, well, I'll put links to all of your socials below so people can find you. Julien, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.